out here.
What is going on? Welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, and thank you for the comments in the last video about names for the Jeep. We're definitely going with Maximus after.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius.
In the Gladiator. I don't know how I didn't think of that, but I think that's a fantastic name. So we're officially naming the Jeep Maximus. You know, maybe we'll call him Max. You know, Maximus for short. I think that'll be great. So appreciate the comment on that for sure. I know it hasn't been real long yet, but I think it's time for Maximus to get a little upgrade. And let's just say we're gonna make him feel a little bit more comfortable. I went ahead and got the Rough Country bed rack and tent for the Jeep Gladiator here. And I think it's gonna be an awesome upgrade for different adventures, just to be able to plop up a tent, have a nice, comfy, flat place to sleep instead of sleeping on the hard ground in a tent or something like that. I think this is going to be a huge upgrade. So we're going to dive into installing this rack and tent here. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a pretty simple process, because the videos that I saw on Rough Country's website showing the install video for the tent looked pretty easy. The instructions for the rack looked pretty simple as well, even though there was not an instructional video, I don't think, for the rack. I did look up a little video on YouTube of someone else doing it. Seems pretty straightforward, so hopefully we can dive in without too much issue and get these things put on Maximus. Once I dove into this install, things quickly turned to be not as smooth as I expected. So as you may or may not know, I live in an apartment, so I have very limited space. So I actually ended up jumping into the warehouse space in the back of the office where I work at to try to do this. So I was kind of in a hurry, trying to get out of the way, you know, not upset anybody or bother anyone at work. And I had kind of limited tools. You know, I was working with just a socket set and a cordless drill. I had to go purchase the drill bit, which was freaking $16 for one drill bit. Ridiculous. But I was, kind of trying to be in a hurry, and quickly realized that I should have been much more patient, because I started drilling some of these holes in the bed rails of the Jeep without pilot holes, which was kind of silly. So the 17-30 seconds is a big old drill bit and just chews through the aluminum bed rails real quickly. So I immediately had some blowouts in the bed rails along the process, and this thing pretty much needs to be spot on. All 8 of these holes need to be in the exact right spot. There's no wiggle room for the alignment or anything like that. So you pretty much have to nail them right in the right spot. And once you put in the threaded inserts, you really don't get much of a second chance. So I absolutely should have bought the threaded insert tool or the nutsert tool right off the bat, because I didn't get it until I was almost done with everything else. And that thing would have been way easier than trying to install those with a socket. And I should have absolutely been very careful and meticulous about where I was drilling the pilot holes in order to put the holes in the right spots, get the nutserts in the right spots. But I did a pretty half-assed job, and we ended up having to make some modifications, made a few additions to some of the bolts with lock nuts underneath. I was actually able to get a few of them in there, which, honestly, I feel pretty comfortable with, because I was a little bit more confident in the security of a lock nut versus their threaded inserts anyway, mostly because I did such a shit job putting them in, probably. But I think everything turned out to be okay after several days of dinking around and putting holes in the wrong spots. So far, the rack has not fallen off, so I think we managed to get it installed with not too much issue. Then it was finally time, like I said, after 3 days of freaking around with the rack. I got that installed, and then the tent went on pretty easy, honestly. Put a couple rails underneath the bottom of the tent, fasten all that hardware together. Super simple. That was pretty easy. Set the tent in place, and from there it was smooth sailing. So once I finally got the bed rack installed, putting the tent on was pretty simple. That probably only took 30 minutes or an hour with it's a little bit of help from the guys at work, so that was great. But it was smooth sailing after we got done fucking up the rack. We managed to get the rest of it on there successfully. And I think that this thing looks pretty sick, if I do say so myself. I think Maximus is absolutely ready for some adventure, and we're going to have to go take him for a little bit of a test ride. If you want to see more of Maximus and myself out in nature doing a little adventuring, make sure you smack the like button. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. We're going to be going out and doing some more fun stuff. So I would love for you to join us.